Peirce's final opinion that all who investigate would eventually reach if researched far enough, and even from different starting points. As one following the other, Peirce defined the real as the true indication visible. Rather, it is a possibility, quality, actuality, brute fact, necessity, norm, or law, independent of majority opinion and dependent only on the final opinion discovered through sufficient investigation and research. Do the science, concepts of truth and real involve a community without definite limits, but with self-correcting as needed and definite increase of knowledge. As the process of arriving at some logical conclusion, logic is rooted in the social principle, since it stands on the dependence that is unlimited. Paying attention to all the historical explanations before, Peirce outlined scientific method into three kinds of inference and in a purposeful cycle to settle doubts. These three inferences are abductive, retroductive, inductive, consisting of two stages, and inductive. Guessing the processes to arrive at a conclusion or proposition through explanatory hypothesis for the best selection worthy of trying is abductive. From abductive, Peirce distinguishes inductive as the process to arrive at a conclusion or proposition using test as the proportion of truth in the hypothesis. Every inquiry, even ones that are underway and at any stage of the inquiry, arises from surprising observations in one or more of these realms, whether it be ideas, brute facts, norms, or laws. All explanatory content from theories came from abductive, which guesses a new outside idea to account for in a simple extravagant way a surprising or complicated phenomena. Often, though, even a well-prepared mind guesses wrong, but the moderate success of guesses far exceed that of sheer luck, seeming to be in harmony with nature through instincts that are developed or infixed, especially since best guesses seem to have the appearance of truth and reason, credibility, and worthy of approval in the simplest of the sense. Moving, acting, working with ease, and sometimes with superficiality, unconstrained, easy, done, and natural. Galileo's natural light of reason and as distinct as logical simplicity. Abduction is the most fertile yet insecure mode of inference, but its generally rational thought is inductive. Without it, there is no hope of sufficiently speeding up investigation of new truths, and it works often enough to do so. Coordinative method leads to taking away a plausible hypothesis to judge it for its ability to be tested and how its trial would conserve inquiry in itself. Peirce calls his system of practical consequences the logic of induction, and his maxim is, consider what effects that might conceivably have practical bearings you conceive the objects of your conception to have. Then your conception of those effects is the whole of your conception of the object. His logic of induction is a method of reducing conceptual confusions beneficially by equating the meaning of any conception with the conceivable practical implications of its object's conceived effects. The method of experimental mental reflection upon to forming hypotheses and favorable to testing them with efficiency. A hypothesis are without the need to have practical implications lead to at least mental tests, which later with science must lead to scientific tests also. A simple but unlikely guess, if uncostly to test for falsity, may belong first in line for testing. A guess is by nature worth testing if it has instinctively plausibility or reasoned objective probability, while subjective probability, even though reasoned, can be misleadingly seductive. Guesses can be chosen for trial strategically for their caution, freedom of restraint, and simplicity. One could hope to only discover that with time would reveal through sufficient experience anyhow. So the point is to speed the process, because the management of resources in research is what demands the leap of abduction and governs its art. Explication: unclearly a proposition to support or help to support a conclusion, but deductive analysis of the hypothesis in order to render its part as clear as possible. Demonstration: deductive reasoning and Euclidean in procedure with explicit deduction of hypothesis effect as predictions for induction to test about evidence to be found. A proposition that is incidentally proved by proving another proposition. An immediate consequence or easily drawn conclusion. A natural consequence or result. If need be, a proposition that can be deducted from the premises or deduction of a system. The long-run validity of the rule of induction is deducible from the principle and supposes or assumes beforehand, taking reality for granted in advance and in general, believing that the real is only the object of the final opinion to which adequate investigation leads to. Anything which no process would lead to is not real. Induction involving ongoing tests or observations follow a method which, if persistently followed, will diminish its error below any degree beforehand. There are three stages which are classification, unclearly a proposition to support or help to support a conclusion, but inductive classing of objects of experience under general ideas. Probation, direct inductive reasoning with crude catalog and lists, or gradual new estimate of proportion of truth in the hypothesis after each test. Gradual induction is concerned with qualities and depend on the weightings, qualities, or characters, or estimated and measured by quantity and dependent on measurements, statistics, or counting. Sentential induction. By inductive reasoning, it appraises probations separately, then their combinations, and also appraises these appraisals with self-appraisals to pass final judgment of the whole result. Frequently, the scientific model is used not by only single persons but several, and not only cooperating directly but indirectly also. Within such an environment, various techniques have been developed to ensure the integrity of the scientific methodology. Such cooperation can be regarded as one of the most defined elements of the scientific community. The social contract convinced groups of the notion that sovereignty could be achieved through contract and covenant ideology, starting of course with proto-state of nature arguments by stating everyone is by nature free of subjection by any government. Of course, these ideas were theories founded on Roman law, which stated a group of people can exist as a distinct legal entity. According to social contract theory, citizens have consented either explicitly or tacitly to surrender some of their freedoms, submitting to the sovereignty and the law of the government where they live in exchange for the protections of the rights they still possess. The question of nature and legal rights usually stem from the aspect of social contract theory. In these conditions, individuals are bound only by their own personal power and conscience.